Oh, I could breathe. Let's see. I'm same person. Good. Okay. So what I'm going to propose for the time with you guys is to get a little bit deeper. This is what we're doing with our patients at the VA. The system that I'm going to share with you, Whole Health, was developed for the VA. But has everyone paid their taxes? Or if you paid your, it's freely available for use outside of the VA. We can talk about that. And it's not veteran specific. So just those are, and then just a holdover question from the first talk. If you, as a nurse practitioner, are interested in the American Board of Lifestyle Medicine, you are eligible. You would actually get a practitioner certificate as opposed to the physician one, obviously. And I believe the certificate comes from the American College of Lifestyle Medicine. So I think it's on, hopefully it was on one of the slides. If you go to ablm.org, American Board of Lifestyle Medicine, it should all be quite apparent. And there's some prerequisites, like you go to a lifestyle medicine conference, you get up to speed, and guess what? You take an exam. And another fun thing is you fill out a case study of one patient who you've taken through lifestyle changes, and it can be you. So a lot of people new to this say, like, I have a case study of one. Her name is Rochelle, and she, she was introduced on June 15th, and blah blah blah, and here's what happened. So you're more than eligible. You're encouraged, and I could talk after to anyone who's interested. So what we're going to do is invite you guys to do a personal health inventory, and it's going to start off with what the sheet that you've been given. I'll walk you through it, and then after we've gone through that, I have a collection of a few health and nutrition facts, fads, and fallacies that come from the podcast that we're working on. So I'll go through a few of them that have been popular, and then answer other questions. And feel free to ask questions in the meantime. Make this more of a conversation. So there's me again. So if you think about the last year, you may not want to think about the last year, but if you were to think about the last year and think about all of the events that have impacted you, and this is pandemic times. The last year, I think, started in March of 2020. Otherwise it's just, it all blurs together. Think about your personal life, your professional life, obviously the world around you, and think about some of the events. I'm not going to call on you for this, but obviously there's global events, there's issues with systemic racism, there's a climate emergency going on, but there's also personal stuff. Like what joys, as much as you can, did you find in the midst of the pandemic? What are you missing because of it? How joyful is it for you to come into a room with other people after 2.5 years and two plus years hiding away? What was your, how did you react to it? If you had asked me in the midst of the pandemic, I would have put on a bright face and say, oh, I'm so much more efficient. Without having to travel around giving talks, I have more time, with my wife and my adult children who refuse to leave the house. Sorry, that was editorial comment. Sorry, that slipped out. Why were they not leaving the house? Pandemic, this, or whatever. But it's a privilege to have your adult children live in the house. Just note to anyone faced with this, if you want to ever change that, you just start charging them rent. It's amazing how fast they get their butts in gear. So that was actually like an issue, like how long would we have our 20-year-old plus kids, 20-somethings, staying around the house, and how, like you can move into a new apartment even in the midst of a pandemic, but it was joyous and stressful. What were the relationships? How did that affect my relationship with my wife as like kids came back from college, again and again? But so it's just take stock, just take stock of it, and just start to look at it, and then I'll sort of take you through, what do you hope for the new year? What are the promises, again, in your personal life, in your professional life? Like, how do you hope your practice, your healthcare system, your income, like, are you headed towards retirement? Are you coming out of retirement? Are you, are you starting to volunteer? Are you, what is it? And I'll share as we go here, like I love the idea of being out, being able to talk to an audience again. Like I just ran a 3-day conference, which is phenomenal. Lifestyle medicine, as you heard, like we've done this dozens of times, but I was basically staring at a camera for 2 days, just praying that, Ashley would type something in so I could respond to it. As opposed to like seeing Janet's smiling face and kind of like, okay, we're in communication. We're all people. Some of us are more introverted, but we're people. That we're caregivers. We need to, and one of the joys of the pandemic is that I just kept on seeing patients. I had a big room, there's a big fan, everyone's wearing a mask. Like we just kept on going. I never really missed a day of work. So I was thankful for that. When you look back into the rearview mirror, many of us look back with regret. It could have been different. It should have been different if I weren't wronged, if I, just all of this stuff. And when we look to the future, are we looking to worry? Are we looking to, oh my God, like I don't want to look at the stock market ticker today because I thought I was headed towards, I thought I had enough money saved, like, it's whatever, whatever the number is. Like, are we worrying? And in between concern about the future and, and regret about the past is what? The present. And that's when we started this whole thing, I invited you to just be in the present moment. And what would it take to be in the present moment now, and when you have the privilege of sitting there and seeing your patients on Monday morning and realizing this is the present moment. I'll share with you, my wife is a psychiatrist. She's a psychoanalyst. And she's just like her jam is, I want to be with a patient. I want to be in sync with the patient. I want to resonate with this patient and like really, like I won't even say hear them because it's like beyond that, even though it's all words, but it's really like, where's this patient at? What are they getting across? And how can I be in sync with them to just gently nudge them and get them to evolve or deal with, their issues and as an analyst, that could go on for years. Or it could be the first 20 minutes when she meets a new patient. And that's her, like so when we started like getting into like, what does it mean to be mindful, present, and all that, and she's like, oh, that's what I try to do. Like, so if you're a sports fan, one of the things that I love about sports fans is you can go watch, the Celtics, you can go watch the Red Sox. Even if you're not from Boston, you can watch the Celtics, you can watch the Red Sox, and you realize that the guys on the chattering away are talking about all the history, all the stuff that was, and what's going to be, how many teams can come back from a 3-2 deficit to win the championship in the NBA, and their past and future, and the players, they're just in the moment. They're just in the moment. I mean, they remember how Jay deked me and threw me off my like 5 minutes ago, but they're in the present moment. What would it take for you to resonate there? So the invitation is for you guys to look at the circle of health here, and we're going to walk it together, and then you're going to tell me what the map is for you, and we'll use that word in a few different ways. As you start in the center of the circle, you're going to see the word me. The me is you. Okay, so this is all about you. When I show this to a veteran and they go like, what's this? And I go, it's about you. And they go, oh, me is me? Like me is you. And like, okay, got it. What do I do now? Like, I want you to just enter into some sort of mindful awareness. Just be open to considering and talking about, a bunch of like pillars, behaviors, lifestyle elements. And are you good with that? Yeah. Okay. Then my favorite next thing is that I look at Ashley's eyes, and as her eyes go around the circle. And at some point there may be like a little like reaction as she gets to one of these areas or another. And we can do this and just sort of like look and ask. And then, when she stops and stares at something, I go like, what are you looking at? What caught you here? And that's where now we're starting to like tap into the stuff. So the first pass is just sort of like to look and then to sort of see like, as much as what does this mean? Why are these circles overlapping? Because it's not that clean. Okay, this is not, well, food and drink, that's kind of straightforward. Recharging, we've talked about sleep. What does spirit and soul mean? Where does it? So I'll tell you just a few quick, as you look at this the first time. So first off, I love the colors. It's supposed to look like Earth, from a distance, and there's greens and blues, and they're overlapping. So I show it to one patient who, oh my gosh, she came in with acute on chronic pain, physical, sexual, psychological trauma, just, sort of broken body, financial, like not much was going well with her life. And I was like, I didn't know what to do because I'm supposed to take care of her pain. Like, where do we start? And I show her this, and her eyes go around, and then like there's like a little bit of tearing. You have to look for the eyes because we're all wearing masks. And I lean in. I go, which one are you looking at? You seem to get stuck on one. She said, the spirit. And I go, how so? She said, I pray a lot. And I go like, oh, so you want to work on spirit? And she looks at me like I'm an idiot. She goes, no, doctor, that's all I have. And I go, well, tell me more. I always like to learn from my patients. Tell me more. And she explains, without getting, like all of the trauma that she's been through. Like this is not like an hour thing. It was just all I do, I pray, and that gets me through. Like, so there's your strength, huh? Where might you apply that? Your strength is your spirit, and your relationship to whatever it is you're praying to. What do you want to use that with next? What's the next thing that you want to apply that to? And and there was that question over there before, like, where do you get started? When the patients are so challenged. I'll give you one other kind of alarming one that was great. I show this one to a young male veteran, and he looks at it. He kind of like goes around quickly, and I go, "What do you see?" And the guy looks at me, and goes, "A barrel of a gun." And like my brain's going off, like, "Oh, this is why, like, every 3 months I have to do like suicide, training on the, online, like, oh my God, like, ring the bell, like, who do I call?" But I just sort of like gulp, and I go like, how so? And his girlfriend's sitting there with him. I go like, barrel of gun, huh? Like, like, tell me more. And he goes, "Doc, I'm going into battle for my life. I want all those chambers filled." Little twist on, I'm looking down the barrel of a gun, right? And I go, okay, which ones are empty? He goes, I got to work on the sleep. That one's empty. And the food and drink, his girlfriend says, we'll work on that one together. Like, sleep, I can't help you with that, darling. Like, we'll work on that one together. Okay, so that's the one that's missing. Like, and when that one's filled, he goes, then I'm ready for battle. How's that? I mean, how cool is that? So it's sort of like, all right, that's where you're starting. Which barrels are filled? He goes like, I don't know if you noticed, but like, I exercise all the time. Like, I noticed, good for you. Like, let's get to. So what you see is now, once you start looking at those areas, then we're going to go into prevention and treatment if it's needed. We're going to look at complementary and integrative things like, do we need to help you with maybe a little mindfulness, a little meditation to help you sleep? We can add that in. And then, of course, there's community. So once again, there's me at the middle. The self-care is what we're going to dive into right now. The professional care, don't worry, you're not going to lose your job doing this. Okay? They need you to guide them. You may at that point actually prescribe something that they're going to take because, I don't know, they're trying to get past their nicotine, and you guys are expert at nicotine replacement. There's a community, and all together we call it whole health. So I'm going to keep on going. To make this all make sense, we talk about, back to that one question. Remember I said you only had to remember one thing from the first session? What matters most to you? The answer to that is what is Jay's mission, his aspiration, and his purpose. That's the map. So when we say, like, we're going to map the journey, your mission, your aspiration, and purpose, what brings you a sense of joy and happiness? For Rochelle, it's her family. So we're going to now ask you, if you turn over the sheet, you'll see what we're doing. The first question is a little bit more for a clinical encounter. Like, what do you want to accomplish today? That fits with the advice that, hopefully you've been given, which is like, get the patient's agenda. Like, I know that Mr. Blue Shirt over there that does a lot of exercise, like, he hurt his shoulder and his knee and his ankle. Like, where are we starting today? What's Mr. Blue Shirt has a name. I'm sorry. Mike. It's still Mike. Okay. Sorry. There's a Mike over here also. So Mike says, all right, my agenda is, if you could help my right elbow, then let's start there. So what's your agenda? We can start with that. But then I would ask Mike, and I'm going to invite you guys with a pen. Remember what those are? Take out your pen and start answering the other three questions. To Mike, to Janet, to Jay, to Rochelle, to all the people whose names I don't know or can't remember. What really matters to you in your life? A related question is, what do you need to be healthy for? That's like the question I asked to the vet who wants to get on his boat at night. Just a variation, what are you going to be able to do? And then a little bit more specifically, and these overlap, what activities do you want to be able to do? And with that, I'll give you a couple of minutes. And when you're done with the first few questions, just look up so I can see where everyone's at. So I just want to share that as a speaker, like, I used to think, like, oh, you just got to, like, keep speaking, like there's no dead air. And then as I get into doing this with patients and with audiences, and the more I realize that, like, the more work you do yourself, like the better it is. So it's a challenge to me still to be quiet, but I'm doing my best. Just as I look, I'll start with sort of sharing my mission, my aspiration and purpose, and I'll ask for some volunteers just to share a few words about it. When I think about what I want my health for, I want to live my best life. I realize that if I have the privilege of speaking, being on a podcast, working with patients, with trainees, that I am a role model, for better or worse, so I might as well be a good role model. Lifestyle medicine is my passion and my calling. The planet is broken, and I want to do my best to fix it. I choose to do it by talking to other health professionals. So I want to express my gratitude for being here with me, because you're helping me live my mission, aspiration, and purpose. Anyone want to share theirs? Yes, right back here.
All right.
If you tell us your name, I'll try.
Hi, my name is Diane.
Diane?
There we go. Is that better? Okay. My name is Diane, and this gave me a lot of pause because what really matters to me in my life, it's very momentary. It's very in the moment. I have a daughter who's doing IVF, 11 cycles, 4 miscarriages, and watching her navigate this, she's one of the strongest women I know. So what really matters is her health and well-being going forward. And my my younger daughter is probably going to get married within the year, and she's moving away. And my children have never been away from me. We've always been within, an hour. I call them my IT team that lives in Boston. So one is thinking about moving to New York, and then there's Kyle, who's local. So despite their challenges, I really do want to stay healthy to be able to see what's coming. And what I need to be healthy for is a future retirement and a good life. Because so many of my patients, they aren't healthy, are trying to get healthy, and then they drop dead right after retirement. Like we have a neighbor who lived diagonally across the street who bought their summer home. It was his dream home, and he died 2 days after he moved in. So, no thanks. No thanks. So, and I've actually been pretty healthy my whole life, but I want to stay that way. And the things that I need to do is exercise more and work less so I can retire actively.
Amen.
I got my Medicare card. I got my Medicare card, so which means I'm old. So.
Thank you, Diane.
Maybe I'll go next.
Oh, Jay?
Hi. So my personal goal is very selfish. I want to be happy and healthy. And I think I can achieve that, and I do achieve that by inspiring people to be happy and healthy around me as well. And my biggest passion for the last several years now has been de-prescribing. So by
De-prescribing, yeah.
by empowering people to live a happy, healthy life, people don't need as many drugs as we give out to them. So that helps the whole healthcare system save a lot of money as well. And in healthcare system, unfortunately, people listen to me better when I talk about money, not about lifestyle change. So,
Thank you. Oh, over here.
Hi, everyone. Nothing like getting up close and personal with a couple hundred of your closest friends, right?
Well, tell us your name.
So I'm Cherie,
Cherie.
and I'm from Kansas City. And of course, instinct when you first answer this question, the first one, my family, it's, of course, my family is very important to me and being there for them for the future. But then I really looked at myself and I'm like, where on this little circle am I really missing out? And I realized for me, I'm going to have to keep my walls up for this, otherwise I'll be a mess. But I've realized that I really need to be more emotionally honest with myself. And I need to start tearing my walls down. I lost my 13-year-old son a couple years back to SUDEP. And so I've got to learn to grieve him a little better, but then also to raise awareness for SUDEP, sudden unexpected death in epilepsy. And so I've really made that my mission, and I kind of grasped onto that mission, but then I kind of pushed him to the side as well. So I feel I need to be more in tune with my spirit and my soul to learn to take care of myself first. So.
Thank you, Cherie.
Thank you, Ashley. So I want to be happy and healthy and help others be happy and healthy. Ultimately, I always say I want to live to 110 if I can be happy and healthy, and I really believe in that. And I really, my dream is for all nurse practitioners and healthcare professionals to share in that, so you can go to work and live your life with joy in your heart and feel good physically. And it's just touching to have this presentation here right now with people that I regard so highly. So thank you all for attending this.
A couple of more. Anyone on this end of the?
Sorry, I'll run.
If you're bashful about it, you can make up a name when we ask you your name.
Okay, so I'm Francina,
Christina?
and you know, what really matters to me, of course, my family, but I also want to be happy. And what do I need to be healthy for is to be happy with myself, because I'm not. So I'm thinking that I want to be able to move around without pain. I want to be able to be present.
Amen.
Anyone else?
Man. Hi, I'm Rochelle, of course. So like I said earlier, what really matters to me is family. I'm going to go a little deeper than that. These questions are so emotional. Like, here we are, these professionals, we take care of everybody, and there's so much emotional stuff going on with us. And we're so used to being there for others that this is very emotional. Like, there's tears everywhere. I'm fighting back my tears as well, because our patients don't see this vulnerable side of us. We're encouraging to them. We look strong. We look like we got it together. And then when we go around the room, we hear these personal things about your daughter. You losing a child, being happy for you. And And of course, my family is important to me, and they're the reason why, everything. But also, happiness for me. My grown daughter is back at home with 3 kids, so moved out, lived back. So it's been, it was for COVID. She's been there 3 years with 3 kids. And I love her, and being a grandparent is the best joy ever. But at the same time, my emotional state and just having quiet time and getting healthy and wanting to exercise and breathe and eat right and do those things go on the back burner, because now I'm not grandma, I'm also ma to the grandkids as well. Not that my daughter and her husband don't do the right part, but everything is nanny, 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 nanny. And I actually came here. I was very happy to be here after 2 years. I was like, yes, coming back. I mean, it's crazy, but at the same time, I've always brought my grandkids too, but because the conference is a little later, I only could bring one, but it was supposed to be me and my husband to get that space back again, but the 5-year-old was like, Nanny, please. So once again, there goes my quiet time, my quality time. I mean, this is still quality time because it would be me and my husband, but once again, that's out the door because everybody comes before me, which is okay. But sometimes I'm a little full, and these tears are because I haven't shed any in a long time. And I don't want to make this a therapy session. He's on the clock. But after this conference with all these great speakers, I'm overwhelmed. And once again, I'm very proud of being a nurse practitioner because of all of you, and I just feel blessed to be in this room and have this opportunity to express. So here.
So, Janet, and then we'll move on.
I was in that position when I retired 3 years ago, and during COVID, being home with lots of time, I really realized I needed to lose weight, get in shape, do all that stuff, and it's going great. And now my daughter and her 4 kids are moving in 2 weeks. And I'm like, oh no, I'm going to lose it all. I think I'm going to go back to work.
So Janet reminds me of at the VA. I don't know if you've seen me. Like I walk fast. I love to walk fast when I'm like going around. And I'm at the VA, and it's like 3:01 in the afternoon, and there's a social worker on one of the inpatient units who goes breezing by me. I'm like, Pat, like where's the fire? And she goes, I'm off to the gym. And I was like, okay. And I always like to ask, like, so what's your inspiration? She stops, she looks at me, she goes, I'm training for retirement. And she said, I made a list of all the places I wanted to go and the hikes and the grandchildren take care of. And she thought, like, I got to get in shape for that. You know, being a social worker is easy, but like I got, and like that, and then she turned and off she went. And she retired and she's still moving, I'm sure. So let's go on with this process. So I just also wanted to share that as I was in the introduction, I've run live and online trainings, lifestyle medicine trainings, like we're up to like number 26, like since 2008. The one that we did this past weekend was by far the most emotional conference we've ever run. And it's the like the zeitgeist. It's what's going on out there. The world is really, you know, is really getting to us. And if we're able to feel emotions at the end of it that we hadn't felt before, we're probably, you know, it's probably going to help. I'd like to think, you know, just like we can't just stuff it down anymore. Like it's that challenging, and you're not alone. And you know, but this was online. You know, like I could hear people like crying online, like something's going on, and yet we're going to show up at work because we're caregivers. But we're going to do it by taking care of ourselves. So we've sort of like touched deeply on mission, aspiration, and purpose. I'm going to ask you to you know, you have your agenda. I noticed that some of you started doing it, but if you go to the other two columns here, the instruction, you're invited to look to the last column to the right and figure out, as you look at these 8 areas, where would you like to be? You can do I'm sorry, I'll tell you not to do what I did the first time I saw this, which was just like, I'm a competitive white male. Like, I wrote down 5s. Like, don't I want to be the best at everything? And it was like, Eddie, like, is your surroundings really going to ever be a 5? Are you going to clean up your house, declutter, empty your inbox? No. You know, are you going to give up on your children who also, you know, are slobs? No. You know, is it important for you to wash your car? Like, what? So, like, I don't have a 5 there. You get the idea. So write down where you'd like to be reasonably in the last column, and then on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being the lowest, 5 being the highest, where you are in these 8 areas. I'll give you a couple of minutes to do it. And when you've gotten through the numbers and the 8 different areas, just look up so I see where you're at. Okay, the next invitation, and you can continue, is to is to look. I'll share like numbers that I put in when I last did this. Look at where the numbers match. Okay, if you're 3 over 3, 4 over 4, 5 over 5, circle those because you're where you want to be. So if you look at the numbers I popped in for mine, exercise is my favorite thing. I just, you know, it's just what I do on a given day. I like to be flexible. There was an ocean, so I swam in it. There was a pool, so I jumped in there. There was a beach, so I walked on it. You know, tomorrow I won't have those things. I'll do something else. I'll be back on my bike. Recharge, already nailed that one. Just don't talk to me after 10 o'clock. Food and drink, largely due to my wife and an evolution. I learned to cook over the pandemic. That was my project. The surroundings, 2 out of 4, and I'm being generous there. That's an opportunity. So circle your strengths first, okay? And we'll do this sort of as a poll of the audience. So I'd like to put up your hand if you're. We're going to look at where your strengths are, what you're most proud of. If we handed you the microphone, Janet would love to talk about the exercise that she's doing. Okay, and so those people that have a strength in the world of exercise, put up your hand. Good. Recharge. Professional sleepers, raise your hands. Excellent. Whoops, sorry. Food and drink. Who's got it nailed? They're getting, thank you. Where are the cooks? And excellent. Jay, okay, he's going to cook lunch for us. Personal development. Who here feels like they're maxing out on their personal development? Thank you. Good. Family, friends, coworkers. You're getting what you need. You're providing what you need. Excellent. Spirit and soul. We got some folks there. Surroundings. These are my guides. You're going to help me declutter. You're going to help me wash my car, clean out my study. Okay, thank you. Because I'm looking for help. Power of the mind. As we define that. Thank you. In the back there, Maureen. Great. Whatever your strength is, that's your strength. Okay? And you may not have one. You might have deficits all over. I've got patients that say 1 out of 4 all the way down. Okay. Let's look at, think about your strengths as best you can, and now look at where there's a deficit, where you're a 1 over 3 or whatever, or there's, look where the biggest delta is between the two numbers. Something like lower that you might want to start with. Okay. Delta is on the exercise realm. Food and drink, surroundings, spirit and soul. What am I missing here? Recharge. Who's not getting the sleep that they're hoping for? Oh, lots more hands on the sleep. What am I missing here? Recharge, food and drink, personal development. Maybe start with a conference, right? Family, friends, coworkers. I need to call my mom more. Okay, let's move on here. So now you got your strengths. Now you got your opportunities. Think about, and I think this theme came up with one of the answers over here. What can't you change? Like, just realize, there's certain things you're not going to change. Like, you're not going to kick the kids out of the house, although you might consider it. It's not happening. You're dealing with your daughter's IVF. I'm of the age where I look at my 20-somethings and I say, I was doing one of these plans like 5, 10, 15, 20 years, where am I going to be financially, physically, family-wise, who's going to be around? And I got to the grandchildren part, and I'm like, I don't know. I have no control over this whatsoever. And, short of my wife miraculously becoming pregnant again, so we have a grandchild, like I have no control over this. So that's something I can't change. I would welcome the grandchildren. I'm of that age, and there may be opportunities, but that's not something I have power over. So it is what it is. Not likely in the next 5 years, probably not likely in 20 years, but 10 and 15 years. Check in with me. We'll see what my kids do. There was this is brief aside. One of the little neighbor kids came over. We have a little pond in our front yard, and she got out of her stroller. She's 15 months, and she comes running over to me, and the parents explain, she thinks you're a grandpa. I just have that. So I pick her up, and then I explain how my kids don't have kids yet, and one of the woman's of Indian descent, and she said, "Oh, she said you'd be interested in the court case in India where a family is suing their son for not providing grandchildren." Anyway. I said, I don't think I'm going to do that, but I'll be available. So what can I change? What do you have in your control? What changes can you make? How small a thing can you start with? Where do you want to start? And what resources and strategies do you need? What's it going to take if you decide, like my friend, the social worker who's running out of the hospital to go train, like she had something that she could change. She wanted to get into shape to get fit for retirement. She was able to do it. She needed a gym. It was before COVID, so she could go to the gym. And, what do you have control over? What help do you need from your family, friends, from a conference, from going online? So I'm going to maybe just sort of like tie this back together and answer some questions. This is a little bit of a leap, but I do it with my veterans. Like, think about a strength that you have, think about an opportunity, and then how one might help the other. This is a little bit more of a higher level. This is not on the sheet. This is for you to. This is the end. Like, where do you want to get started? I'll give an example. I had a patient come in, and I said, where's this deficit? I just don't exercise. And I said, well, why don't you go for a walk in your neighborhood? And she looks at me like, doctor, that's a death sentence. I don't know if you know where I live, but it's just it's not safe for an older person to go walking alone, go walk around here. Like, okay, where's your strength? She said, I'm all about family, friends, community, going to my church. Okay, so I got the two ends of this. How do you get to church? She goes, well, Jay picks me up, and we drive there. And I go, okay. So you get there every Sunday, plus the other services during the week and her volunteering. She said, Doc, I have an idea. Not for me to have. I'm going to ask Jay if he'll walk with me this week. It's only 1.5 miles. I think I could do it. And I go, what about all the danger? She goes, the bad people are asleep on Sunday morning. I go, all right. So she takes her strength, which is her relationship with Jay, her desire to be in her church, and she modifies it, and she walks to church, because that's what she said she wanted to do. Now, remember I said that people's goals expand? So she said, she comes back to me, and I go, how'd it go? She goes, remember I said I was going to walk to church? I go, yeah. She goes, I walked home also. Okay, how was that? Well, I was a little sore, but the second week was easier. So let me just, this is like a little higher level. If anyone wants to think through some strength that they have, some goal that they have, and how they might make a change that they're willing to try in the next week or the next week. Yes.
Hi, I'm Gina. So I really like exercise, and I try to do it most mornings. It's part of my morning routine. I do it 40, 50 minutes in the morning before I go to work. So I was able to make that routine in my life. So I'm capable of a routine. So my next goal would be to add some meditation. So I can add 10 minutes of meditation to my daily life.
So Gina, right? So Gina's doing this is, I think something called habit stacking. She knows she's going to be on the yoga mat or on the treadmill, blah, blah, blah. That's the routine. Why don't I just add something else on the routine? You want to get your patients to take their pills, put it next to the toothpaste. Because there's the pills. Because you're going to be at your toothpaste twice a day. Yes? Excellent. So for those that couldn't hear, strength is food and drink, all about I made this great meal, I'm dressing it up a little bit, and but spirit and soul, like take a moment of grace, to say grace, to acknowledge. That's, and again, you're appending it to something you're going to do anyway, right? Thank you. One more. Hold on, maybe let me just see. Yes.
So I'm a very social person, but I really don't like exercise very much. I'll go for a walk and I'll go for a hike, and I enjoy camping. So I have three boys, young boys that are 5, 8, 10, and so I created a hiking group. I'm not I don't like to organize things, so it was a little stressful for me, but I put a page up on Facebook, and then before I knew it, all these people started coming, and it was just a very emotional moment for me, because I realized this circle of friends that I had and how they could motivate me. And we would have 40 people show up to these hikes, and I didn't realize how many people that I knew until they started showing up. So
Wow.
so my goal is I need to post another hike, because I stopped during the pandemic, and just post a hike and they come, and it's great.
So for those, what a beautiful story of, there's something that you want to do, which is get outside and hike. I'm sorry, and you're doing it. You put up a single posting and 40 people show up.
And more people started coming. And when I started to look back at the pictures of how many friends, and then people started to invite their friends, and it just became this huge community thing.
And one of my favorite things now is I will give you my contact information at the end, share it, write back about how it's going with, of course, pictures, and then other people say that wasn't so hard. What did your posting read? And how uncomfortable were you? I overcame it. That was you were overcoming you're a really social person, but you didn't want to organize things. But it's what a great story. One more. I'm going to transition a little bit and just pick up on a few themes and just share one more thing going on in my life, which is that over the last few years, I started getting much more involved, not just with professional audiences, but with actually sort of reaching out directly to our patients, through popular press books, and then podcasting. So launched one with WBUR, and then the next one, and we handed out cards, is called Food We Need to Talk. You guys are more than invited to listen, to have fun, to write back to us with suggestions like, why didn't you do one on sleep? That kind of thing. It's also by design. I'm always thinking of our patients, and one of my favorite, most favorite things is when, Mike says, I met you at the conference, I listened to the podcast, and I gave it to my patient. And then it led to a conversation, or it was a way of sort of training them. So you're invited. If you don't know what a podcast is, there's a little QR code in the back that takes you to a website. If you don't know what a QR code is, there's we have kids in the back that will help you, or your neighbors, or one. So one thing about having kids at home is that my son arrives for Sunday dinner, and it's like, oh, the Geek Squad is here, so we got a list of questions on the refrigerator. So you're welcome to that. So one of the lovely, and I'll go through a few of these. These are just some recent episodes that we did. So one of them was, how do I become a fat-burning machine? Answers to that? How do I become a fat-burning machine? Lift weights. There we go. Okay, so let me ask you guys before we go into that, just a sort of a quick poll here. On average, how many times per week do you perform resistance exercises? You could close your eyes and just hold up your hand if the answer is none. Okay. If you're doing it once per week, like 25 to 30 minutes. If you're doing it twice per week, as is recommended. If you're doing it 3 or more times per week. And if you were too embarrassed to answer, hold up your hand. Okay, good. So the answer that we heard is you can actually lift weights to lose weight. So I'll spend a couple of minutes sort of flying through this. Resistance training is not a toddler screaming no, 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 as I thought when I first read about it and my kids were young. It's anything to improve muscular fitness. It does not matter how you do it. Your muscles don't know whether you're wearing lemon, whatever. They don't know what you're wearing, where you are, whether you're lifting dumbbells, weight machines. if you want to get, I mean, there's some, an exercise physiologist would, we can argue some points, but you can use elastic tubing, medicine balls. You could be doing squats in a conference. Hello. Why would you want to do resistance exercise? Because there's an amazing number of benefits, and these are on top of everything else that we do, decreasing risk of injury, osteoporosis, basal metabolic rate. You can read through those. Though that picture is not a stock photo, that's from the LIFE study, which was 1,600 people in 8 different centers. That was at Tufts. These folks are doing, guess what? A squat. If you can get off the toilet, your children will not put you in a nursing home as readily. And there's literature behind that. It's not just a joke. More benefits to resistance exercise. They're using ankle weights here. Quality of life improves, body fat. Look, your glucose tolerance goes up. If you could just roll a little bit there, my friends in the tech area there. This is not anything new. This is a film from the early 1900s. They asked if there was any sound to play, and I said this was before talkies. Okay? I've done the math. She may still be alive. I'm not sure. But she's just going at it, and dear God. And I don't have time to show. I don't have time to show the whole video, so let's keep on going here. But now, when you do, when you have muscles, they are energy hungry, so it's like 5 to 6 calories per pound per day. If you train the muscles, they're going to burn like 9 calories per day. Doesn't sound like a lot, but over time, it adds up in terms of just burning more calories. This was from an episode in January 2020. When you do your exercise, meaning your resistance exercise, it takes several days to recover. And during that time, it takes energy to recover from your resistance exercise. Well, what does that mean? It means that you're burning more calories. That might put things more in balance and help me to lose weight. So you have an extra energy expenditure of about 100 calories a day for 3 days after you do your resistance exercise. So if I do my exercise on Monday, recover Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, do them again on Friday, every day I'm burning an extra 100 calories. Over the course of a month, 3,000 calories just to repair for the exercise that you did. Okay, nothing to do with the walking and whatever else you're doing. If you're starting for yourself and you're just starting exercise, consider starting for your patients or yourself with resistance exercise. You don't have to, especially if you're overweight. You might actually be easier and you'll see changes much more readily. The American College of Sports Medicine has this laid out for you, how to do the exercises. I can answer questions, when we're done here. You wanted, in terms of how many repetitions you do, simplest number to remember, if you lift the weight and you can't do it 8 times, it's too heavy. If you could do it 12, 13, 14, it's too light. If you do like 10 and you're like, I'm done, that's about the right number. When you go back, if you keep on exercising, the weight that you couldn't lift 8 times, now you can lift 9 times, 10 times, 12 times, 14 times. Need more weight. If you take off for a few weeks and you go back and all of a sudden you can't get the weight off the rack, just keep on. You're always like rejiggering it, okay? You want to do the whole body, from dumbbell press to the squats that we did to calf raises to push-ups, and a lot of this you could just do with body weight. So I'm going to leave these slides mostly for you guys to go through just as a way of getting started. So it's a critical part of our training. I want to sort of jump to the other two because there was an important point made here that I want to nail down. Is being kind to myself self-indulgent? Show of hands? Yes? No? Didn't decide. Okay. So we just released an episode on this, on self-compassion. It just came out on Monday. Monday? Yeah, the 13th. Lack of compassion. Something happens and you ask yourself, how can I have been so stupid? I feel so shamed and demoralized that I said something, I didn't do something, I missed the diagnosis. I didn't finish my notes on time, and the patient's calling back because where's my prescription? Am I the only one? Like I said I was going to show up for you, and am I, when you, the take home from this whole episode was, when you criticize yourself, your body reacts as though it were like a tiger jumping out of on the savannah attacking you. Like the fight or flight actually comes up when you do when the inner critic is screaming at you. We had Kristen Neff on just a couple of days ago. What if we evolved towards what can I learn from this? Maybe I need to fix it a little bit if I don't get my prescriptions done by the end of the day and my notes done. Maybe if I make a commitment to Diane, I better be there, or at least call to say I'm delayed. Maybe if I tell my mom I'm calling her, I should follow through. I'm not perfect, but I'm doing the best I can. Medicine is broken, I'm still showing up. My colleague quit, I'm still showing up. I don't have all the time in the world for you, I'm doing the best I can. What would self-compassion feel like? This actually activates the parasympathetic system and actually release of oxytocin. I was going to say OxyContin. No, it releases oxytocin and our need to nurture each other and to be together by being compassionate to ourselves. And my last one, then I'll take questions, is structured exercise the only way to stay active? That's neat, you say, okay? NEAT is the activity that is performed subconsciously in fulfilling your daily activities. The fact that I'm sort of twitching around the stage here, part of my NEAT. I can when I decide to go for a walk at a lunch meeting, to have a lunch meeting with Janet to discuss the latest in whole health, that's non-exercise activity thermogenesis. Fidgeting around, the people that like to fidget, they burn up calories. There could be a 2,000 calorie per day difference between someone who just sits and someone who sort of like twitches around and realizes that maybe I should just get a standing desk and then I can sort of type and go. So summing up all of this, and we have a couple of minutes, we talked about patient care behaviors. Your self-care is critical to yourself and the health of your patients. We all have something to work on. I think lifestyle medicine is a great vehicle. You guys are welcome to join together. I'll give you my contact information. Whole health, I have that listed also. That's freely available. And that's all of the contact info and references. Is that right? There we are. I cherish when people reach out and we have a chance to continue. So thank you for the opportunity. I'll answer whatever questions we have.
Thank you, Eddie. That was a very special session, and thank you to everybody who shared with the group. We didn't have any questions. Oh,
We have a question right
great.
here on the third row, fourth row.
Sure.
Yeah, so the question is yoga considered resistance training? There's like a gazillion types of yoga. You familiar with Yoga Nidra? You're instructed to lie perfectly still and not fall asleep. That's not resistance training. It is really hard to do. Yes, Jay?
Just a quick correction.
Oh, sorry.
I think when you snooze, you lose.
When you snooze, you lose. Okay. Yeah.
You're going to lose weight.
Yeah, okay. So there's different types of yoga. If you're holding a plank, or you're in something where your muscles are working, there's resistance going on. Yes, but just other yogas like you're constantly flowing, and your heart rate's up. That's a little more aerobic. But so it's based on the style.
Okay, I think that's it.